that was his motivation, his request to take out time and do that. He's an anesthesiologist, and he's got some information that the other family members that don't have. Now he's going to go and share that information with the family back in New York. They're in Amityville, New York. Mm-hmm. So he's actually just now starting the process. It's not, it's not an easy thing to say, but it's a lot of time and energy. Yeah. And he said he's the only guy that, perhaps has the energy to do it, because there's other people in their 90s and whatnot. They couldn't take a trip like this. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and how you might be able to relate to this guy's quest.
My name is Bernard McCrumbie, the great grandnephew, would you say, of George McCrumbie. I am a history teacher here at Sierra High School, a counselor, 9th and 10th grade counselor, and a basketball coach. So I wear many hats. Teach U.S. history 11th grade, and the opportunity to work with young people, to be a role model, a leader, is what I call my vocation. I've done a lot. I have my own project management company. I used to be a city planner. I've done a lot, and all those different experiences have kind of brought me back to where I think God has placed me, and that's here, to be able to be a blessing to the young people I interact with every day. From a historical perspective, the opportunity to bring history to life is one element that intrigues me about being able to potentially bring home or recover my uncle's remains and bring them back to the family. I think from an educational standpoint, though, it's important for our young people to see the effects of what not only my uncle did, but all of the fallen 66 and the Tuskegee Airmen, the impact they had in World War II, but not even necessarily just in the war, but the impact they had throughout the United States, and how they changed the perception of African Americans in general. At one point they weren't thought to be smart enough or skilled enough to fly planes, and every challenge that was brought to them, they tackled, they attacked it, and mastered it. And just kind of being able to maybe potentially dialogue some of this stuff and show my students down the line, I think it really brings history to life for them. And I think that's one of the struggles that they have with this class, is that they're so far removed from everything that has happened that they're learning about. And so for them to have an opportunity now to kind of see it play out in someone who's close to their lives, I think really would have a tremendous impact on their perspective and perceptions on the course.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think this will help you with your transference of your uncle, his history, and how you can personalize this information in terms of artifacts. If you open that folder, these are some of the documents that were declassified and given to me, and this kind of gives you some historical background on where they believe he actually went down. These are the maps. This is the current map, and this is a historical map. But just flipping through some of these documents, I think you'll find that this information will allow you and the family to start to synthesize some of this stuff. But at some point, yeah, you could share this with the students, and they can start to really research and review, everything that happened. This is, again, he was a first lieutenant, World War II, 99th Fighter Squadron. getting these documents? What's your feeling about these?
It's pretty amazing. I remember kind of when we first when we connected on Facebook, and I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, wait, I have an uncle who was a Tuskegee Airman? 'Cause I had no idea. And so just being able to go and Google his name and for my class to pull up some of the pictures and for them to kind of be able to see, who he was, and that I'm not just making this up, I think was pretty cool. And I've shown a lot of documentaries and video clips.
If you flip through some of these other things, we actually have his academic records, as well as, again, some of his military information. And I think each page, either front and back, has really his whole life, as an adult laid out.
Oh, wow.
He's a young man, but he was one of the...
This is amazing. My mind is churning. I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of make this a case study, a project for my class, and in the years to come. Again, just to give them some perspective, and what better person to use than one of my family members. I was really, really proud and honored to kind of go to my administration and be able to tell them, like, hey, man, my uncle was a Tuskegee Airman, and this is some of the stuff that I've learned, and how can we incorporate this into our curriculum? I think that again, it's really important to be able to bring history to life.
Yeah. Well, if again, just keep flipping through these documents. These are some of the archived newspaper articles, some domestic and some international, even Italian. It's all about George McCrumbie, First Lieutenant George McCrumbie.
This is pretty awesome. Figure out where I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a few minutes to figure out, how to digest all of this. What I'd like to do is, if you can, ask you if you have any ideas as to how you can get the rest of the family involved. Not just from an awareness standpoint, because there's still a lot of work to do. What would be maybe your first step in trying to get maybe the awareness and the activation of the family?
Well, one of the things that I'm definitely going to do is I'm going to talk with my dad and, get him in line and show him this information and just get him to understand that this is, you have documentation, it just brings everything to life. It's not just this could have happened or this probably did happen. This is historical evidence, and so being able to provide or put something in the hands of my family to say, hey, what more can we do? How can we proactively attack this scenario and potentially, bring them home is something that I think everyone can get behind. It brings a sense of family pride. Mm-hmm. I mean, the McCrumbie name is a very unique name in and of itself, and there aren't very many of us, and so to have the opportunity again to say that our uncle, our predecessor, was a historic figure, personally, but also figuratively. He represents something that's bigger than all of us. Mm-hmm. And he was a part of the beginning of the social change in climate and perceptions of our people. I think, and that's powerful to think about. And again, that legacy I try to live on through what I'm doing every day. And I think that it's also important for this information to be shared with my cousins that are younger than me, so that they can understand that the McCrumbie name is something that's strong. It's something that represents progress. It's a name that represents change. It's a name that represents intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
And that needs to continue. That needs to continue to permeate. I know that as I move forward and I move on, and I have kids, don't have any yet, but that when that day comes, I want to be able to share this with my son or daughter and say, hey, look, it's bigger than you. It's not just about you. It's about who you represent.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very important.
Well, one of the things that we did, to connect was the Facebook project. How do you think that social media and digital media can take a role in helping you, with getting this information into the hands of the family and your students?
Well, social media is a tremendous asset when used the right way. And the fact that it's shrunken the world is the primary reason, or the primary vessel to get this information to other family members. The fact that I can take a picture of these files and I can post it on my Facebook page, and all my family members where we're all connected can say, whoa, what is that? Can I see it? How can I get it? What's going on? And then it brings everything to life. This is evidence. It's what people want to see. I mean, I believe it when I see it, and that's how we live our lives, right? And so when you're able to really see something and have it in hand and it's tangible, I think that it becomes something different. It takes on a whole new life.
Well, one of the things that happened at the event in Vegas is that they gave all the information that they had, but in the case of the Tuskegee Airmen, many of them, a lot of their records were lost. There was a fire in St. Louis in 1973, where 80% of all the records were destroyed. So we don't know that there is not enough, we don't know if there's any more information about him, but there's some steps that I'll talk to you about to get the analysis of whether or not all of his files are here or were some of them lost in that fire. But I have another folder, and this one, that guy away, this one is a little bit more detailed, and this will actually help with the genealogy, because in this particular folder are some of the records of things like who received his effects. If you flip there, this is the actual name tag that they put on the table for him, and that's something that you probably keep them in family. Some of this is duplication. We have handbooks on what you could possibly do if you want to take on the role as point of contact to help socialize and get the family up to speed on what can be done and what's going to happen. But also, again, in this package, there was some information about who received his effects. And there's names in there. And interesting enough, I think Mrs. White was the person who received some of the effects, and they were cataloged.
Okay.
So, we don't have to do it right now, but these are some of the things that at some point become part of the forensics.
Yeah.
For you as a person who might be the point of contact to start to figure out who had chain of custody of all of his effects. And this will also start the process of figuring out who you want to elect as the person on the team that helps to record all this stuff, because it could become a short or a lengthy process, but it should be a team of people, because I saw a lot of families that showed up in mass, 4 or 5 people, cousins, uncles, and some elderly people who could make it. But it is, again, kind of almost a way of helping to distribute the load and it is quite it was quite an emotional thing. So, got to be somebody who obviously is about the task of getting closure or conclusion, and not getting maybe overwhelmed with the fact that, wow, I didn't know about this, tell me more. And then once they learn more, it's like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you know, it's
It seems to be pretty laborious process. I mean, it's kind of, when I was watching briefly the video clips before you got here, you know, it seemed as though the families that were there visiting had already done a lot of work and had been doing a ton of work up to that point, and it was still kind of like they were hurrying up just to wait. You know, is the impression that I got, and I could be wrong. And I only watched, you know, 2 or 3 minutes of the clips, you know, and just kind of listening to some of the questions that were asked, and listening to some of the responses from the agents. I mean, I could be wrong, and so I definitely can see how, you know, this would be a multi-teamed effort.
yeah.
Oh, his sister, Orzel White.
Have you ever heard that name before?
No, but Miss Jean McCrumbie, my grandma was Jean McCrumbie. Fort Worth, Texas. And so I don't. Sister. She got married. I want to show this to my dad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I actually, at one point, thought that I might have been connected with Mr. McCrumbie.
Yeah.
I was. That's how I found his name, and just through some of my family mythology, I thought I was related to him, and it still might be on the other side. But you know, as I started to research more and more, I found you guys.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I have to tip my hat to you, because, I mean, just to be able to compile this type of information is such a blessing to our family, you know. I'm really appreciative of this opportunity, just to even have been presented with this information, this type of evidence. And see, now, I mean, I can research Miss White and our Aunt White, and see. I mean, you know, she may not live in Fort Worth anymore,
Or there could be some other. Yeah.
You know,
I mean, that's part of you know, really getting some understanding of how to bring him back to life, to retrace, for instance, who he was.
Yeah. Well,
you know.
Well, I mean, it has my mind kind of moving and thinking about some things potentially, you know, just trying to bring our family together back in Texas and go down for a family reunion where this evidence can you know, be presented, and I have cousins there who I know will want to help me out, and we haven't seen each other in quite a while, and seems like a pretty good reason to get together. And so I can definitely start to reach out and maybe see if we can get the ball rolling. But I know that this is truly an awesome experience, just to be able to look here and see, you know, my grandma's name and realize that, you know, this was right here. This is me, you know, and this is the legacy that I'm tasked at upholding, you know, I mean, it's one that I'm definitely excited to continue.
Well, one of the things that kind of drove my passion for connecting this story to to classrooms is this buzzword called STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And our organization, Dakar Foundation, have put the A in and an additional S in STEM. So it used to be for us STEAM, now it's STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, math, and stewardship. And part of the history and the preservation and conservation of this information is part of the stewardship thing that I'd like to have kids, students learn as they're learning about history, how do you take care of history? Because again, 100 years from now, we'll all be history. And we have to figure out how this information can be shared with future generations.
How do you pay it forward?
And again, this could give some opportunity for science to be brought into the history, where genealogy, as well as some of the basic sciences, can help people understand the cross connection between history and science in this particular potential case study. Any ideas of how you would interface with science?
I'm definitely trying to figure out when we're able to locate remains, just being able to use those types of whatever it is
Processes, yeah.
How we were the procedure in being able to determine who this is and what types of techniques and tools they used, definitely would be could potentially be tremendous opportunities for our students to use, especially in biology and anatomy courses where that type of where they're learning those types of things. Forensic science is a huge I don't know the best way to put it. I think a lot of students are very interested in wanting to be forensic scientists, CSI.
Well, interestingly enough, the laboratories that are responsible for doing all the analysis, they're really cold case laboratories.
That's one of my favorite TV shows.
Right, and these files, as a matter of fact, the gentleman that you watched, his uncle is an X-File. And there's a lot of stuff that you've seen on TV, popular culture will come to bear. A tremendous amount of science was talked about at this event. DNA research, again, the Genome Project they talked about. But it's really good information for anybody who wants to know where they came from. And again, the science part of it, I'm hoping that it can be a balance of all kinds of things that kids can learn: the history, the science, the stewardship. One of the things we're really interested in is using digital, not social media, but digital media to share their experience and what they take away from case study. So any thoughts on using digital media to help to share potentially a case study or a lesson plan?
One of my big projects that I have my students do every year is they create a video project, whether it's reenacting a historical scene, a speech, or covering a major news event. And I think that being able to kind of sift through data like this and watch the emotions or the reactions to, like, I felt like I would watch this video and feel like I'm a 5-year-old kid just going through and finding buried treasure. When I saw my grandma's name, I'm like, whoa. And so being able to have that played out with our students, and just getting their reactions to see how they emotionally get tied in with these people's lives, I think is something that would be really good, and something that we can incorporate.
Well, let me show you something that we've been working on as part of our efforts to have a digital media tool, we created a blog site specifically to try and help students, help us socialize all this information. It's called homageusa.net. And people ask me about that word. Have you ever heard that word before?
Yeah.
Homage? What does that mean to you?
Pay tribute. To remember. Yeah, it's you know, just to kind of to remember and just to pay tribute. You know?
Yeah, it's one of the more powerful words that I've heard, and that's why I wanted to embrace it. So the blog is really to use the tenets of homage for just about anything, not just for service and sacrifice or for anything. But this site here I put together as my idea of how I can kind of merge a couple of things together. Have you heard the term "my brother's keeper"?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me what your understanding of "my brother's keeper" may be.
It's I know it was an initiative started by President Obama to try to serve as a mentorship program for like socially disadvantaged Black and Hispanic youth, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but that was my interpretation of what the program stood for. I haven't had the opportunity to really kind of look into it and read more about it, but.
Well, it's interesting. We are in discussions with the Pentagon right now about potentially being involved with My Brother's Keepers, and we thought that it could be a way to introduce to young men a way to provide some stewardship and indirectly have them pay homage to people that they may have never heard about, just to Guillermin, as well as other people who served this country. So the real idea is service to something or someone other than yourself.
Which is something that our young people really need. One of the things that I'm constantly talking with them about is learning how to be less self-centered. You know,
Yeah. Selflessness is a term that they, if they got a chance to learn that word, it would probably shock them to their core.
Yeah. You know, it's one of my I have a lot of coming to Jesus talks with our students, and one of the things that I'm constantly preaching to them about is love, and how love is rooted in sacrifice. You know, and I mean, if even our armed forces, they love the country so much that they are willing to go to war and fight for it, but also go with the understanding that they could potentially lose their life. And when I'm talking with our young people, I'm constantly trying to impress upon them the thought that if you really truly love your parents, like you say you love them, then what are you sacrificing? The answer to that 9 times out of 10 is nothing. You know, because they're not doing their homework, they're not doing what they're supposed to, they're not being respectful at home. You know, and then when I asked them what are their parents sacrificing for them, then it really started like, whoa, and it kind of begins to hit home. They're like, well, they sacrifice their time, they sacrifice their money, they sacrifice sometimes their own happiness because they love their kids that much. And so when we can start to get our young people to pull themselves out of the equation and begin to learn to love as much as they learn to consume and to use, then I think that we'll, you know, we'll be so much better for it. And so that's one of the things that we're constantly trying to preach to our kids.
Well, this is one of the things that I've been trying to figure out is how the students can help to find more information, more facts about these men. Obviously, there may be a short or long road with your uncle. But what I did is I was able to get a lot of the photographs of these men, and these are photographs of them as forever young because they were all young men, and I think only a couple of them were married. None of them had kids, so they were able to pass their seed along. But the faces of these guys, it took a lot of research to get this potential catalog of information together, and it's not playing right now, of course, but it's one of the things, again, photography, digital media, and using photography to help maybe activate a younger generation as they look at the text and the documents. Oh yeah, it's a lot of homework, but they see the faces and maybe some file footage, and those are the things that may be able to help them understand that, wow, there's been movies made about these guys. There's still guys still alive.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, like when we get back, we're kind of right in the middle of our lesson on the civil rights movement. And one of the things that I wanted to do was, I'm putting together a presentation right now called "The Faces of the Civil Rights Movement," and it doesn't necessarily. It's kind of a running slideshow with just pictures and images, and not of Dr. Martin Luther King or Malcolm X, but of students and of activists protesting, of young people that look like them, that are now much older, obviously, but I want them to be able to see the different faces, and I want them to understand that the young people that sat in these seats were fighting for something. They were fighting for equality, and the gains that were made are the reasons why you're not out there. You don't have to protest and get shot with water hoses and have milkshakes pouring over your head and be spat on and called all types of derogatory, names. And so I want to be able to kind of just give them that perspective so that they can see, man, they were 15 and 16. 17, 18, just like me. And they were out here fighting. They were going to school and they took their education, they saw it as not only a privilege, not only a right, but something that they needed to do. They took a lot of pride in their education, in the fact that they wanted to graduate and go to college. And it wasn't just something that they had to do, it was something that they needed to do.
The value was really there.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one of the things. And so that's another way to bring.
Yeah. Well, many people say these guys were precursors of the civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
And
they broke many barriers.
Yeah. And one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that these were the talented 10th. These were the guys who were the top of their class. They were aeronautic engineers. They were scientists, mathematicians. Some of them were athletes, and some of them were, again, kind of the first people in their family that ever go to college. And they put it all on line for a country that didn't even give them civil rights. And they did it because someone had to do it. And that's kind of the weird part, is that they, these guys are maybe a little bit part of the cornerstone of the Tuskegee Airmen legacy, of our civil rights legacy, but nobody knows their faces and their names. And that's kind of what we hope to do. And so this Memorial Day, we're planning on doing something through social media or through a website, for the first time, maybe with the help of some students, to kind of give these guys at least a little bit more recognition than they received as a group, but also individually. Because that's the one day out of the year that these people deserve recognition, and most people don't know what Memorial Day is for. And I don't think many students know or probably care.
It's a day off of school for them.
Yeah, it's the end of the school year, it's, but, it's set aside for folks who've been killed in action. And the double part of this is these are folks who've not only been killed in action, but have never been brought home. And a lot of people recognize that the one thing that people who have put their lives on the line is that they all deserve a burial. And these guys deserve that with honors, Arlington National Cemetery, and again, they should be forever part of not just the Tuskegee Airmen history, but American history. So that's what I'm hoping that civil rights activists, as young men, and as soldiers, as African Americans, they will get their place. Not just Memorial Day, but and whenever and wherever people think of folks who could be inspirational. Definitely you have enough information here to start to tell your own story.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
As to why why you can look at him as a person.
Oh yeah.
Any other questions, suggestions, or comments?
Oh no, I mean this is a lot to stew over. I'm gonna go home and sift through this and call up my dad and go over it and start asking some questions. And and that's where it starts. Because whatever it is that he doesn't know, then he's gonna point me to the right direction, and that's where it starts. And again, that's what.
Well, we've talked to your cousin, Dr. Loretta McCrumpy Holloway, and she has, I believe, the DNA kits. That if she still has it in her possession, we can get another one, and that will start the ball rolling. It's most important to get a male DNA that will essentially help to, and I don't know all the science behind it, but to get a male person is imperative, and a female. And so once those are, there's basically a swab of the mouth. Once those are returned back, then they will probably have what they've been asking for me for, because I didn't know that I wasn't related, but I said, nah, these are the people with the name, and these are the people that need to start that process. But they've given me everything that they have except for the request to see if his files were burned up. And if that was the case, then there's a declaration that you guys can make that anything else that you don't have in your possession, we'd like to have it, including any medals. There are 2 medals that he received. And because they don't have the records, that means that, maybe they were received and maybe they weren't. As a matter of fact, in the catalog of stuff, the medals weren't in the catalog. There was jackets and some other effects. So no one has in that document where the medals are. So you may be able to request the medals.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that you can do, and I'll help you with those.
I have another project to work on now, so but I really appreciate you coming in and all your hard work and efforts, and this is a tremendous blessing to my family, and it's important for me as a young McCrumpy to keep that legacy alive and to pay it forward,
Yeah, actually in the roll call, he's actually coming up here. I put him in alphabetical order. There was a guy that just passed. His name was Walter Peyton Manning.
Wow.
And his name was spelled P-E-Y-T-O-N, just like Peyton Manning.
Oh wow.
So he was obviously born before Peyton Manning. So it'd be interesting to ask Archie Manning, how did he get that name Peyton?
Yeah.
P-E-Y-T-O-N. But you never know. But these guys, again, they were young scholars, young athletes, and there he is. And the guy coming right after him, his nephew's been looking for him for about 20 years. He's been to Italy twice. And interestingly enough, he's an instructor at West Point. He's a lieutenant colonel in the Army. And his name is Mark Smith. James McCullen was his uncle. And one of the things that his mom asked him to do is to help find her brother. And so we were able to connect the people we met with in Vegas with him yesterday on the phone. And he's willing to give this whole process another chance. So I'm going to bring all the families that I've connected with, maybe on a conference call, just so you guys can meet each other by phone.
That would be great.
But yeah, he's a dedicated, person that, just, and he's got a lot of his effects back from the military. They got a Foot Locker with, uniforms and effects. And he's given them to the Smithsonian. That'll open up in 2016. But, he's hurting because he just didn't feel like there's been a lot of facts. So he's looking for more facts, and that's why he wasn't really interested in participating until I came back and I asked him. I said, "Can you give these guys another chance?" Because the guy who we met, who was a major general, he's the head of the whole operation for returning all these bodies. He said, "Man, give my administration another chance to see what we can do." And so that conversation took place. So at some point, maybe there might be a conversation between you and Major General Montague Winfield. I met him, and he, I think, will do everything he can to expedite things.
That's awesome.
Okay?
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's just been a pleasure finally get to meet, and this is truly a blessing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right.
This is awesome.